From the studios of the Department of Communication in Phillipsburg, welcome to Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Silveria Jacobs.
Greetings, people of St. Martin, and welcome to today's version of Prime Minister Talks. I am Silveria Jacobs, and it is my pleasure to be with you to share with our community today. Excited to share an essential topic that impacts the very foundation of our democracy, electoral reform. As part of my commitment to transparent, fair, and inclusive governance, we are launching the Electoral Reform Information Campaign. This campaign is designed to engage with the entire community in a dialogue about electoral reform. Why is it important and how it aligns with our vision for a better St. Martin. If you have noticed in the media, you will have seen my video promoting the campaign, which will lead up to our town hall sessions, information sessions. You will also have some infographics that you may see rolling out, as well as some videos breaking down the information that surround electoral reform. It is important for us to outline exactly what our laws are and inform the people of St. Martin even before we get into these discussions in a town hall setting. Our democracy is a living entity, and as such, it must evolve to reflect the changing needs of our society. It needs to grow with us as a country, but for it to grow, our government administration must be part of that process. So, I am trying my best to ensure that we include you in this process, keep you informed, in fact, educate you as to what the current legislation is saying. To do that, we must educate and inform our citizens. And I hear from you daily about what plagues us, what bothers us as a nation, as individuals within the community, and what we would like to see changed, and I encourage these healthy discussions. It is from this that we must learn and adapt. This campaign is also geared towards making our electoral laws more accessible to people from all levels of society. We've noted that the language can be very heavy to read and even heavier to break down. So I have made it my mission to bring you that information in bite-sized pieces. Easy to see, easy to hear, and then it can be repeated and you will get a better understanding. You will be able to find articles in the newspaper each Friday that outline the chapters of the electoral ordinance as it is now and simplifies it in ways that reads better, and you can receive that information in a fun way. It is important and pivotal that everyone within our society is informed. This information is for every citizen and to ensure you're engaged in the process. So whether it be through clicking and reading what you want to read about, through hearing what you want to hear from it, take your time, go through the information on a weekly basis, and you will definitely have more information about how we are currently running our electoral system, and we all know that elections are upcoming. Some of these reforms that we'll be discussing have been discussed for years, but no changes have been made. And while it was my goal to have some of these changes during this year, time did run away from us, especially with our lack of personnel to be able to execute this. So we feel that even though some of the changes may be too late for this election, it is always time to involve the community. And the more you know about our election system, the more and educated you are to be able to make a good choice, to be able to move forward. We're living in an era where citizens are more engaged and connected than ever before. Electoral reform allows us to harness this energy from you, the people, and channel it into a system that empowers everyone's voice, regardless of your background or your influence. Electoral reform ties into our broader national vision, our St. Martin National Development Vision, which is built on the foundation of the Sustainable Development Goals. These SDGs, as they are called, are a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace, prosperity by 2030. When we talk about goals such as the SDGs, we know that the population will then see the connection to what we're doing. So in case you've just joined us, I am Silveria Jacobs. We are on Prime Minister Talks, and I'm bringing you information about our electoral reform campaign. So stay tuned, Come back in the next segment to learn more.
Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Silveria Jacobs.
Be sure to join the Government of St. Martin's social network to stay informed and be updated. Scan the following barcode or visit the following link per platform. This message was brought to you by the Department of Communication.
Good day. Can I have a box of your best antibiotics?
Good day. Sure. Can I have your prescription?
Prescription? Do I really need a prescription?
Why do you need antibiotics, sir?
Well, you see, I have the flu, and my sister's friend's cousin had the same flu, and he told me to get antibiotics.
I'm sorry, but all antibiotics are only on prescription from a doctor.
Why is it so difficult to get antibiotics here?
That's a good question. Let me tell you. When people overuse antibiotics or misuse them to treat viral infections like most colds and flu, bacteria can become a dangerous superbug.
A superbug? What exactly is a superbug?
Superbugs are bacteria which are resistant to most antibiotics, sometimes to all of them. They can cause untreatable infections. If we all don't stop overusing and misusing antibiotics, these dangerous superbugs will become common and there will be no treatment to many bacterial infections.
Boy, I'll make sure to tell my sister's friend's cousins about this superbug thing. Sounds pretty scary to me.
Yes, it is. Would you like to have some advice? I don't think you need all of them.
That would be great, thanks.
Collectively preventing antimicrobial resistance. This message has been brought to you by the Collective Prevention Services.
Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Silveria Jacobs.
Welcome back to Prime Minister Talks. I'm Silveria Jacobs, and it's always a pleasure for me to be here with you to have informative discussions or share information. Today, it's not interview style, it's just me, but for me, it's important to take the time to come to you, the people of St. Martin, to ensure that you're well informed. Last week, we were in Parliament discussing with them all about the electoral reform, where we are as a government. And as I mentioned before, even though I wanted to be a lot further along and have much more changes done before the next election, unfortunately, we weren't able to achieve that. We were able, though, to get away, let's say, a little bit of forward movement on the legislation, the LB-HUM, to be exact, to remove the curtains that would ensure a bit more of transparency and diminish the opportunity for, let's say, funny stuff to happen behind the curtains. You can go back to that meeting to hear what that was all about. And we had a great discussion about all the different aspects that we need to look at. But for me, it's always important to get back to you, the people. You are the ones that need to be informed. You are the ones that need to make a more informed decision as a voting citizen. And today, we're talking about how our citizens can be part of that by launching the information campaign and allowing you to be informed via a lot of different media. So within the paper, within our government website, and also on my Facebook page. So do look at all these different little reels, videos, and other informative ways in which we're bringing this information. Electoral reform is not just about changing the mechanisms of how we vote. It's about ensuring that our democracy truly represents the will of the people. By re-evaluating our electoral processes, we can address issues such as the voter representation, ship jumping, how the parties vote, how the parties are representing, and there are several legislations that we look at. So this ties into the broader vision, as I said before, of the National Development Vision of St. Martin, built on the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. The SDGs are a universal call to action against poverty, protecting the planet, and ensuring that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. When we talk about goals such as inequality, the SDGs, providing SDG 10, is when we have to look at how do we ensure that everyone has opportunities in the country? How do we have sustainable cities? How do we have people being involved in all processes? This is very, very, very important to the people of St. Martin. When you look at what's happening in our society today, do you feel involved? Do you feel that you have a say? Or are you only relying on what is being discussed, whether it's on the floor of Parliament, whether it's in the different talk shows? Do you share those sentiments with the people of who are having those discussions? The government of St. Martin is keen to know what you have to say as well. And so it's important to engage you in these town hall sessions, that you take part in the surveys that we put out, and that you ensure your voice is heard. That is what election is about. We elect representatives, they sit in Parliament, they choose an executive branch, and they hold that executive branch accountable. So how do you continue to hold them accountable? And I think that is very, very important. How do you question? How do you ask? How do you interact with them? Those are very important things. We did a survey, and that survey showed us a lot of what a segment of the population is thinking. And so it's important to get more information as to why certain things are being seen the way they are. Do you believe that there should be, for instance, an election, a separate election for the executive branch, for the Prime Minister and the other ministers? That was part of the survey as well. When you think about it, there are many ways, and we have let's call it a separation of powers within our legislative, which is the Parliament, and executive branch, which are the ministers, and they are to hold the other accountable. A lot of people don't even understand what the MPs do, other than call a minister, ask questions, etc. But actually, putting forward legislation, as well as approving legislation or not approving legislation that government proposes, is also part of what the legislator, the member of Parliament, has to do. In terms of other questions that were asked in the survey, I really found it interesting to know that some of the people don't find that what is currently represented in Parliament is a reflection of what they chose. But that is how our system is set up. So do we need to maybe adjust the way parties profile themselves in terms of, these are my members of Parliament, vote for these persons to be member of Parliament, and then this segment of the list is the persons that we would want to appoint as ministers? Does that make sense? I wonder. This is the kind of thing that I would like to have a discussion with you about. We will be having in our town hall sessions discussions with persons who are professionals within the field of electoral reform, who may have been part and parcel of the change to 10-10-10 in us becoming a country. And it is key that we assess ordinances on a regular basis, policies on a regular basis, because at the end of the day, the policy and the legislation must serve the people. And so regular checks on what we have in place is necessary. And of course, there's a lot of older legislation that needs to be updated as well. Within our town hall sessions, you will hear from 2 or 3 speakers, and then you'll get the opportunity to ask questions. any question related to whether it's the electoral ordinance or the ordinance on political parties or any other ordinance related to elections in general or electoral reform, or any question that relates to how elections take place, how the calculation of seats are done, etc. So for me, it's an opportune moment for the public to be engaged. Some might be, oh, that's boring, I'm going to vote and that's it. Y'all figure it out. But all through the year, you're still expressing yourself. What about vote buying? What about vote selling? Because for you to have a buyer, you need a seller. So you can't only have your eyes on one side and not on the other. So what else do you think government should do or implement to be able to safeguard that each vote counts and that voters are voting without any undue pressure? For me, that is democracy. That is ensuring what we want to do. Do you think the curtains removal will stop that? I learned a term that I didn't know, the Bulgarian train. Is that something that you knew about? Do you want to understand that, for instance, when we sell, okay, because the person who takes money for their vote, you're selling that vote. When you do that, are you then able to hold anyone accountable after? Are you then able to look at your representatives and say, oh, they're not doing a good job or whatever? You're then part of the problem. So for me, Electoral Reform campaign, this campaign is to ensure that we had over 9,000, according to the Civil Registry, persons that didn't vote. Over 9,000. Even though I know some may not be on the island, that's still a lot of people. Why? Why didn't so many people vote? The idea is for your voice to be heard, not to let a few people decide for you. When you don't vote, that's what you do. In fact, another fact that most people don't know, when you vote blank, you give the other valid votes more strength. So it will go towards wherever the majority is in terms of that. So a blank vote is also a vote in some cases. We must be able to understand what our vote means. Our electoral campaign, as we always do every year, will also ensure that you get good information on how to vote, how to make it a valid vote, and so therefore continue to stay tuned to all our mediums so that you are well informed. I'm coming up on the end of this segment for now. What I'll do is end off right here, but welcome you back for the very last segment in this, our promotional discussion with you on Electoral Reform campaign for 2023.
Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Sylvaria Jacobs.
The Civil Registry Department brings you a message on updating your information in the basic administration.
Did you know, as per the Ordinance on Basic Administration, all citizens have the right and obligation to request corrections on their personal information? This is done by submitting source documents. What are source documents? A source document can be any of the following: a birth certificate, a marriage certificate, a divorce certificate, an acknowledgement certificate, a death certificate, adoption certificate, court decision, or a valid residence permit. The identity of the person must be well established by having the following: an identity card issued in the Caribbean, Netherlands, and Aruba, a valid passport, or a driver's license issued within the kingdom. Persons born outside of the Dutch kingdom may need additional source documents such as a deed poll or affidavit. Depending on your country of origin, all of the above documents must be originals, not older than 3 years, and may require legalization by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Dutch Embassy, or with an apostille stamp. Translations are required for documents that are not in the Dutch or English language. No laminated documents will be accepted. Persons must appear in person. Processing takes 1 week. Please feel free to contact the Civil Registry Department for more information. Swaliga Road, number 1, Phillipsburg, St. Martin. Call us at 542-0652. Send us an email at burkazaken.sxm@stmartingov.org. You can also visit our website at www.stmartingov.org, Civil Registry, Back Office Services to view all our requirements.
This public service announcement is brought to you by the Civil Registry Department.
Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Silveria Jacobs.
Welcome back to Prime Minister Talks. I am Silveria Jacobs, and of course, on this platform, I seek to do information, giving you as much information as possible, ensuring that you're well informed. And today's topic was electoral reform, because we're on our way to promoting an electoral reform campaign, bringing information to the population in town hall sessions, hopefully 2, and then after that in a symposium, where we will then culminate, report back to the population and Parliament as to, what the findings are and decide on how we're moving forward. We want to take your sentiments along. We've already done a survey. You may have seen some reels. You may have seen some info sessions. I did an opening video as well. Hopefully you've seen that. Visit our government website, our government Facebook page, and my Facebook page for all the information that has been put out. And every Friday, the newspaper will also have an excerpt of information so that we can continue to keep you informed. I thank the newspapers and DCOM for ensuring that we're able to share this information with you. Why is this information important? It is important that people of St. Martin who are part of a democratic process have a say in that process. And so that's why we're doing it this way. There have been many complaints about ship jumping. There's been many complaints about, whether the representation you see in Parliament is actually what you voted for. And because we are in a pretty young parliamentary democracy, we have to continue to educate, evaluate, and maybe even make some changes. So this is what this is about. I also talked about the connection of electoral reform to our sustainable development goals, and not just the internationally recognized sustainable development goals, SDGs, but our very own national development vision. Because as a government, we've put forth a vision for 2030 and beyond, very strongly linked to those SDGs. SDGs that look at poverty, at education, at gender equality, at life below water, life above land, climate, sustainable cities, the one that I just discussed a while ago, the one on reduced inequality, which is SDG 10, good governance, which is SDG 16, and the one I want to touch on a little bit right now is SDG 5, gender equality. Now, as a female leader myself, I know that I'm in a minority in the world, but in St. Martin, we're not doing too bad. We don't have as many women on the list running, but somehow we are gaining in how many women are elected. But do you know that over 50% of our voting population is female? So the goal for this election should be to at least have a parliament that reflects the population, a more diverse thinking, because I believe women belong in all places where decisions are made. And we're seeing that that trend is growing around the world. St. Martin has been a trendsetter in that, having several members of parliament, prime ministers, as well as chair of parliament being females, ombudsman, name it, Raad van Advies vice chair. So we have had many examples of female leadership, which we can continue to emulate. And you, all of the voters on St. Martin, should ensure that you are having your say. We can sit and we can complain. We can complain, and I think sometimes we get stuck in the rut of complaint. But I was very much inspired this week, listening to a focus group trying to tackle some issues that we're dealing with here in government. And it is always more impactful when the people who are to be a part of the change, who are the engines of the change, actually see themselves in it and put their mouths, hands, and shoulders to the wheel to get it turning. So I was inspired by that, and I'm sure when I get to those town hall meetings, I'll be inspired by all you have to say, because it will take all of us working together. Government has to do their part, the communities have to do their part, the individuals have to do their part, the business community have to do their part, the media has to do their part. So ensuring that there's, opportunities to be heard all across the board, that's also part of it. And that's something that I also 100% support. Let your voices be heard. Take our surveys, answer our questions, ask questions, and in fact, be at those town hall sessions so that you can find out more, hear from professionals, and put in your own little 2 cents, as we like to say. I want to emphasize that it is not a high-level conversation. So we're breaking it down in small bits and pieces so that you can go back and listen to it again and again and again. That's the beauty of technology today. And learn from other systems around the world. Maybe you have seen a system at work that someone hasn't brought up yet. Everybody has an opportunity to be a part of this conversation. The launch will help to inform you. Look out for the information and look out for the list of speakers that we'll be announcing shortly who will be part of those sessions. Every single voice matters. And I want to take this time now to say thank you. Thank you for those who already answered the surveys. Thank you for all of you who comment on different posts that have been put out there. We do take note of those posts, to take note of your comments, and do our best to take them along in our planning and preparation for these town hall sessions. St. Martin is a growing country, and it is going to be dependent upon all of us how good we can be. We're in a process of growth. We've come out of 2 huge disasters. Sometimes we don't want to think about it, but if we don't remember where we were just a few years ago and see what has happened from then to now, we quickly forget that we are still in development. That's why most of these Caribbean islands are called SIDS, Small Island Developing States. And we have a long way to go, but each of us putting our hand to the oars will help us to move the boat even faster. So I encourage you, every opportunity you get, read, inform, listen to the videos, watch the videos, give your input, and come out to those sessions once they've been announced. It is your input that will make the difference, because electoral reform is not just up to me. It is up to all of us. I am Silveria Jacobs. Thank you for taking part in this info session by listening, looking, and sharing. And until next time, this has been Prime Minister Talks.